Today on Your New House, I'm going to show you a simple way to update your brick or stone fireplace for under $100. Today I'm updating a stone fireplace for one of my favorite clients. I'll be using a white mortar mix to change the earth tones to a more neutral white while retaining the stone's natural texture. Not only is this an easy project, but there are no expensive tools needed. So to get started, we're going to start on the floor to protect the floor first. When you're taping off, you can just simply slide the tape underneath the stone a lot of the times because the stone does not sit flush with the floor. So right now we're creating just a baseline of tape all the way around the perimeter of the stone, because from there we're going to attach the paper or plastic, whatever you prefer, to protect the flooring as we go. As you're going around the perimeter, don't be alarmed if it's not a straight line. Anything that gets on your floor can be cleaned up with water. For this project, you'll need white mortar mix, a bucket and stir sticks, safety glasses, gloves and a face mask, a spray bottle with plain water, a couple of sponges, and a ladder. Luckily, this project doesn't take a lot of prep work. You're gonna have to look at your stone and see if it needs to be cleaned. You can simply spray it with a mister, wipe it down, and get any soot off that you might need to, but just the stone alone does not have to be prepped in any other way. Prep isn't fun, but cleaning up after is a lot worse than that. So we want to make sure we're doing the prep as best we can. I've reached as high as I can go with the prep work, and I have to mask off the entire fireplace before I can get started, because once we've started mixing the mortar, we can't stop. Luckily, my husband stopped by with some lunch just in time to help me move the scaffolding in place so I can get started. An 8-foot or smaller fireplace can be done in less than a day with just one bag of mortar. The bad news for me is that this fireplace is over 20 feet tall, so I'm going to split it into 2 days. The good news is that I have access to scaffolding, and frankly, that's the only way I'd do a fireplace this tall. We're gonna start by adding some mortar mix into the bucket. You can fill your 5-gallon bucket about a quarter of the way full, because we want to make sure we leave room for the mixing process. Add some water. You can see that the mortar mix really absorbs that water, so don't be afraid if you added too much or too little. You can always add more mortar or more water to get the consistency that you need. Make sure to use your paint stick to break up any of the mortar that's still dry around the edges. This is a little thicker than what I want it right now, so I'm just gonna add a little bit of water and see what we can get. We're getting close. You want it to stick to the stick. You want it to have the consistency where it's thick enough that if you pick it up, it's sticking. And here's where I need to get my hands involved to make sure that we have all those clumps broken up, that when we apply it, that the dry mortar isn't going onto the stone. Getting your hands dirty, this is where it gets fun. The mortar's ready to go now. As I pick it up, I'm not seeing any clumps or anything like that that still need to be broken up. It's really smooth, and now I think we're ready to go. We want to start by misting the stone. The wet stone is going to help the mortar adhere a little bit easier, just make it stick better. I like to go over it with my hand first, just because honestly it's a little bit more fun that way. But once I have it on like that, then what I'll do is you're going to take your sponge, you just start smearing it on like that. It's okay that some of this stone shows through, because the beauty of this process is that as you apply it, the natural tones in the stone are going to give variations of white along the way. So it's going to make it really natural and really beautiful instead of just a solid white. Don't be concerned with the color of the mortar mix at first. It will dry to a creamy white in less than a day. Drying times will of course depend on the local temperature and humidity. You want to make sure that you fill in all the little holes that are the crevices in the stone, but as they dry, and this does dry really quickly, it's going to become a much brighter white, and you're going to be able to see those little holes that we may not have filled the first time around. I like to run my hand on the stone as we go, just to knock off anything that might still be hanging on. Remember, your mortar will dry pretty quickly, so try to work fast to avoid that drying in your bucket, making sure you're able to use all of the mortar that you mix so that nothing goes to waste. I'm getting down like in all the little grooves and crevices where the mortar was to begin with from the original brick layers. You want to make sure you pile all that in there. Then you can go back with your sponge and kind of run it along those seams to make sure that you're covering all that area right there. I like to do it with my hands just because I'm able to get in all those little areas. It's just more fun to kind of get in sometimes and get messy and just enjoy the process. So some of you may be wondering why I didn't pull my hair back. The truth is I had an appointment with a client before and after we filmed this, so it was a bit of a hectic day and I forgot my hair tie. These kind of projects are therapy to me. It's kind of, once you get in the groove of doing everything, it's just so relaxing to just sit and have your mind wander and just enjoy it. And you can always go back and add more if you need it. You don't need to seal this either. So once you're done, you're done. You just have to clean up and enjoy the new fireplace. Again, remember once you've applied it with the sponge to go back and just kind of run your hands through it. Make sure that you're knocking off, spreading it really thin. You don't want to have a lot of buildup. You want it to be a thin application because you do want the variations in that stone coming through. So you want to make sure that when you're applying it that you don't have larger parts right here that are a little bit heavier, that everything is smeared. And it's really good to use your hands to find those stones that might need just a little bit extra work. As you can see, I'm going back and forth between my gloves and the sponge, but that's okay. Like if your hands get tired, you can switch to the sponge, and then if you're ready to add, put it back on with your hands, you can do that. I like to do it both ways. I've used about half of my mortar so far, and it's actually a really good thing because it hasn't dried out. We're making good time, and then I'll go mix my next bucket and be able to do everything from the mantle up. I think this bucket's gonna last us to get to the mantle. We'll see. So see right here, this is some of the natural clay that's coming out in the stone. So what I'm gonna do right now is just kind of rub that mortar into that, let it dry, get a really thin layer on that, and then I'll come back and I'll add another application of the white mortar over it, and we'll take that brown tone away. I've been running my remodeling company for the last 10 years, but I do love taking the time to do a hands-on project like this. It's like a quiet, repetitive bit of Zen therapy combined with an arm day at the gym at the exact same time. Typically, we would be done because most people's fireplace don't go 20 feet in the air, but here we are. Kind of like baking one big giant cake, right? Kind of like to do everything by hand. I just feel more in control of what the final outcome is. All right, I'm happy. The consistency's good. Getting close to the finish line. And we should be good. The upper part goes just like the lower, just 10 to 20 feet off the ground. So, cue the montage. I'm super excited to see how it turns out. It's already drying in a lot of areas, so it gives me so much excitement just to see it already coming to life. And the good news is the homeowner wasn't here during any of it, so she's gonna be able to walk in and be completely surprised because it's a huge transformation in one day. So to walk in and see something like this that transforms not just the fireplace, but the entire room and marries all the new looks and the other updates that she's done, it's gonna be really, really beautiful. It's day 2. The TV's back up and I'm doing final touch-ups. It's been about 24 hours and the stone is dry. I'm really, really happy with the way it turned out. When you walk in the room, it just completely transforms the entire space. I was kind of surprised to see how well the existing mantle, it actually looks updated now too, just because the stone is now so beautiful, and we got away from those brown, warm, like amber tones, and we're able to highlight some of the natural stone color that's still coming through with the mortar wash. I love it. And we were able to get the TV back up so that it's a functional space again for their family. And this is something that you can do at home. You can make the entire space updated just by getting rid of that brown stone, putting a mortar wash over it. It's easy, it's quick, and it makes a big impact for a little bit of money. Now that the stone is finished, I get to focus on the mantle, and I cannot wait to see how that transformation goes. So check back in with us to watch that project unfold. Thanks for visiting your new house. We're doing some remodeling on the channel, so keep your eyes out for new hosts, new projects, even new graphics, and some surprising topics. We hope to see you again soon.